Hi friends! I'm so excited you're here today because I will be talking about the worst books of 2023 that I read. I don't usually make this type of video because I honestly don't have a ton to say about a book that I didn't like. It might be like 2 or 3 things, but I feel like I have enough here that, you know, I can give you some insight on some books. But yeah, you know, you might like this book and that is perfectly fine. It just wasn't for me. And yeah, let's get right into it because my list just kept getting longer. So let's go. 12 Nights at Rotter House. This is about a guy who goes to get some paranormal evidence at a house and he's not doing great. He lies like constantly, like he's lying immediately. He's in a bad situation to get into this house, and the house has some notorious history, and I actually had some high hopes for this book. I don't usually have like a ton of expectations or anything, but I had high hopes with the premise. I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like something I would absolutely love. No, this character is one of the worst characters I've ever read. And the twist was so predictable. What the whole argument and stuff in this definitely felt like just woman bashing, and like it was awful. So yeah, I give that 1 star. The next book was actually one of the paperbacks from hell that I ended up reading. I think I buddy read this too with a couple of friends, and I think Kelsey is the only one that actually liked it, and that is The Other by Thomas Tryon. This is an evil kid story, right? This should be right up my alley. I was so bored, and the same stuff just kept happening over and over again, and like the writing style in this, it just wasn't for me either. But yeah, I was very sad I didn't like this, because also I think I read this in January and I was like, way to go. Paperbacks from hell. My 23 and 23 is going to be a lot of fun this year, right? Then the next book I did not like is Old Country. I believe I read this for Pyramid Book Club pick. And yeah, I did not like this at all. It was one of those books where the characters does every stupid thing, and also a lot of it like didn't make sense to me. So yeah, did not like it. See how I don't have a ton to say about him other than I just didn't like it. Dark Across the Bay by Anya Ahlborn. This was honestly a surprise from me that I didn't like this, because I love an Ahlborn. They're a good scary time. This one was painfully slow. So we follow a family that is going on vacation in this house, and it's like haunted, right? Cool. Is it haunted or is it just people messing with them? That was the big thing in this. I was like so over it though. I was like, oh my gosh, please be over. And I honestly haven't picked up an Ahlborn since, but I do usually give her books like 3 or 4 stars, so this was a big surprise for me. Yeah, what this ended up being too wasn't a surprise at all, and yeah, I hated the mom in this too. It was just so obnoxious. The next book is a thriller called Bring Me Back by, I think it's B.A. Paris. I listened to this one I think at the beginning of the year, and I did not like the ending of this one. It took itself so seriously, and then it does a freaking ending like this that is like one of those zany endings, and I'm like, what the heck? Okay, no. I've also DNF'd a book by this author before. I was almost done with it and I DNF'd it because I had a feeling the twist was going to be like, I guess like this one, like stupid. I forget the name of it, but it's like it's like B.A. Paris's most popular one. Is it the Behind the Door or something? I don't know. But yeah, I was just like, this is so dumb. Another book I did not like, which was so sad actually, and that was A Black and Endless Sky by Matthew Lyons. I picked this, well, technically you guys picked it, for the Pyramid Book Club. If you guys don't know, that's hosted by Lexi from Books with Lexi, Michelle from Michelle's Library, and Monica from A Little Bit of Monica. And I was a co-host. I was like a guest star or whatever. I was a guest star on that show, you know. And this was the book I picked. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. It kind of felt like it was trying to be that show or that comic Preacher, but it took itself way too seriously too. Like with stuff like that, you have to have like a balance, and this just didn't have that balance. It was all over the place. We do not spend enough time in this giant hole that is described in the premise. And yeah, it was a lot of man being a stupid man, writing, fighting. There's like a really long scene of like a biker like chasing this guy down. It was weird. It was weird. The next book I did not like was Cover by Jack Ketchum. I read this for the Slasher Readathon, I believe, on Kelsey's Patreon, and I did not like this. I didn't like the main character at all, or any of the characters actually. This is one of those slashers where you're like, yes, please freaking kill everybody. They all suck. They're all stupid yuppies. Get them, you know? But also the main character was so annoying too, and I felt bad, but I was like, I'm just not into it. And you guys know I freaking hated The Traveling Vampire Show by Richard Lehman, but I did end up liking Endless Night by Richard Lehman. So I am literally like, I gave 1 star and like a 4-star to this author, and I've only read 2 books. So I'm really interested in when I read more Lehman where I'll fall. But anyways, The Traveling Vampire Show is the most convoluted freaking story I have ever read. These kids are just like, they're doing like nonsense things, and basically they want to see this show, this traveling vampire show, and it's very horny. There's a lot of rump talk in this one, and the ending is like so ridiculous and doesn't make sense and is convoluted, and I gave it 1 star. The next book I hated, and I think I need to lower my rating on this one too, because I actually rewatched the movie recently, and the movie is so much better than this book, and that is Stir of Echoes by Richard Matheson. I think when I read this, I was just like, oh, I was excited because I absolutely love that freaking Kevin Bacon movie from like the early 2000s or whatever, and I love that movie. That movie is so good. This book sucks butt though, so touche to those filmmakers and you know, screenwriters and stuff, because they really did a good job. Anyways, so the book is actually very different from the movie. Well, the ending and like the reveal and stuff, it ends up being something completely different, but the way this whole thing unfolds, it's like, oh yeah, Matheson hated women. I forgot about that from Hell House. It's just like woman bashing like all the way through this book, and it's a lot to deal with. I feel like he needed like help, honestly, and I really hate hearing people compare Hell House to The Haunting of Hill House now. Like, I was listening to something and they were like, oh yeah, like Hell House or something by Matheson is like just as good as Haunting of Hill House. Like, if I could burn people with just a glare, I would have done it in that instance. Like, do not say the same Matheson in the same sentence as Shirley Jackson, please. Thank you. The next book was also another freaking paperback from hell, and that is Strange Seed. So I had it in my little Katrina brain that I would read all 5 of these books for the 23 and 23 and count it as one. No, I ended up reading the first one and giving it like 2 stars. This is about a couple that moves to a cabin in the woods, and there's something not quite right in this cabin. The woman wants out. The husband becomes insanely abusive, and it was rough. But there's these kids in the woods, and at first I thought this book was hilarious because these kids were like fucking with them, and I thought that was hilarious. But it gets so repetitive and like weird and confusing. I mean, I like the weird part, but I was just like, what is going on? It's one of those other like very convoluted, messy narratives. Another book I did not like was Universal Harvester. I thought I would like this because this is kind of like a found footage 1999 Blockbuster story. It starts off in a Blockbuster where somebody working there receives a tape and they're rewinding it, and they like notice something in it, and it's like very scary found footage stuff. I just don't know where this like when the writing was really weird in it, and I should have DNF'd it. I should have DNF'd it because what it ends up being is one of those like just kidding kind of things, you know, at the end, without giving anything away about the ending. But if you know the just kidding ending, you know. So I was like, wow. What a total waste of time. Next book I did not like was All Hallows by Christopher Golden. I thought I would like this book. It takes place on Halloween. It's like in the 80s, and I was like, oh yeah. No, this is just about a family falling apart on Halloween, and like, like the melodrama, the like parents literally getting a divorce before their kids go out trick-or-treating. Like, I am so sorry, like, to anybody who has to ever go through a divorce or whatever, but keep that shit away from your kids, okay? Like, don't have the biggest fight of their lifetime before they go trick-or-treating. Like, people take, first of all, you dress up for the Halloween, and you take pictures, and it's like a very big childhood memory, okay? Like, keep it together at least for one day out of the freaking year. Like, I was so angry at those parents. I was like, you don't do that. Like, what are you doing? Like, for both of them, because it was a mess. Anyways, what this ended up being just didn't have a good enough payoff. It was interesting, but it just didn't have a good enough payoff for spending so many miserable sentences, I guess, with these parents. And the next book is another Paperbacks from Hell book that I read. The Searing by John Cone. Oh my gosh. Okay. So this ended up being an Evil Kid book too, and I really thought I would like it. So I don't know if like Evil Kid thing this year was the year that just like did not work for me, because it's one of my favorite tropes. So it was really sad to like read a bunch of vintage books that like just didn't do a great job with that. Anyways, so this also ends up being something else that I'm not going to say, but that was like so zany and goofy, but how we get there was horrible for me. So basically this is about a new like condominium place being built, but like the TV, whenever a TV is like on a certain station or something, women start to have orgasms. Yeah, and the women get together and they're like, yeah, we can't talk to the men about this because they're idiots. Which is true, right? But yeah, it's just like so ridiculous, and like how we got there again was very convoluted and weird. What a weird way to go about something, you know. John Cone, I don't know. It's very weird. Yeah, it was odd. And the last book that I hated was The Handyman Method by Nick Cutter and somebody else. So this book actually sounded really cool too. It had like mixed technology or whatever in it, and I don't know, like a haunted house story, and I was like, oh cool, this is gonna be fun. No, it is not fun. I think what this book was trying to do just didn't work at all. Like, it was trying to be like, oh, like there's YouTubers and stuff like that have like bad intentions and all this stuff, and people end up being brainwashed by them. I don't know. I don't know what it's trying to say. It was like Black Mirror-esque a little bit. But what ended up happening in this is some animal cruelty towards a turtle again, and I just can't let that go, okay? I can't let that go. It happened in The Troop, and in The Troop it was fine. It felt very fitting, but in this one it does not fit at all. It's for no reason. It's for no reason, and it's like more horrific than The Troop. And I was just like, is this to just be like, oh, anybody who is like upset about the animal cruelty in The Troop, here you go. Rub your face in it right now. There you go. Nick Cutter. So rude. That is very, very rude. Just saying. But yeah, things in this just didn't work. It also didn't make a lot of sense. And yeah, did not like it. So there you go. Those are some of the worst books I read in 2023. Actually, I think those are almost all of them. I did have a 20 DNFs or so, but honestly, I can't tell you what happens in any of those because I tend to DNF like 50 pages in, 50 to 75 pages in. But yeah, let me know some of your worst reads of 2023, and also stay tuned for the best horror books of 2023. You guys know I read a ton of horror, and I still need to reflect back and start making my list. Just a heads up, that video might be really long because there were a lot of winners, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and bye!